getting ready. I need to be able to post some links some places as well.
Oh,
I
Twitter.
think I think we
Yeah.
are. We're rolling pretty good now. So feel free to blast away.
Yeah, I'm blasting out.
Guys, welcome to Bad Publicity. Our special depends where you are. Late in the evening, early morning edition as we come together globally here. Um, Alex and Miles, what's going down?
Hey, what's
Hey,
up?
hey guys, good to see you.
Glad that we've kept this 3 time zone extravaganza going in the face of difficulties.
Yeah, we'll keep the comments positive and just we won't start the Hollis bashing right now for him faking.
I'm just sad I'm not going to get my Hollis fix. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
you just
No,
you,
he just rises up a week.
you
Yeah.
just
Oh, he does.
you just let down, right? You just opened that Christmas present and it just wasn't what you wanted.
Yeah, he's got commitments. It's absolutely fine. But yeah,
Well, guys,
sad, sad not.
let me start off. I know we're just going to do our version of the latest data pack breakdown now, but let me just
Cool.
start off by asking you guys a question on how you feel about the new tournament rules, specifically the line that says in Swiss you can now collude with your partner or your tournament player, and you guys can both concede one game or any games.
You can intentionally draw and also concede partway through a game that you don't want to play for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody shows up at a store championship with CI, not mentioning any names, but
Just
if,
living my life.
if you start to see them draw into their combo or start the cog spinning, you can just concede right away, so he
Yeah.
doesn't have to go through that pain. But so
Well,
what's your thoughts on that you can concede now?
Yeah, it's
specifically,
fine.
I'll quickly say that if it's CI, make them do it because CI is so complicated, they might be wrong and it will fail. So make them do it
Yeah,
if it's CI. Generally, conceding rules are great. I think it's an excellent thing for the game because the most important thing is that some people don't want to. People shouldn't be forced to play games of Netrunner in basically any circumstance. Like it's just very odd that there's a shame and a pressure for you to not scoop up if you're not having fun, if you don't like the person, you want to take a call, you should be able to concede. It's just I just don't want to make people do things they don't want to do.
Right, and without them getting a bad rap about it too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
now it keeps reputations intact,
Yes.
for if somebody needs to bow out of that match or that's
Yeah.
that table game. But are you okay?
IT is a bit different, but
What are you guys'
that's
thoughts on like it being almost used? I, I'm trying to choose my words carefully, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, in a negative way, where Alex or Miles, like we all show up at a tournament and we're doing fairly well, and it's like we all need just like 2 points to push us into the cut, and then I say to you, hey, do you want to intentionally draw this next round? We'll just take 2 points each, and hey, we're up, and now we've essentially bumped two people that were playing legitimate out. And like I say, like the
yeah.
wording might be off there. I don't mean like legitimately like this is not a way to play now. I don't mean negative as in this is bad or good, but just the collusion between two people to say like, hey, let's draw and each
Uh,
take our 2 points.
yeah, I think it's kind of okay, mostly because it's only really relevant right at the end of Swiss, and then only for the people who are almost certainly going to get in anyway, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's. It, I don't think it makes sense if you're like number 9 and 10 or number 7 and 8. You're probably not going to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um, I I think the main reason that I'm okay with this rule existing and think that it should is because it's so hard to enforce this rule if it's illegal. It's all but impossible. If the players want to intentionally draw, they can intentionally draw. They can play out the game. They can have a quick word with each other before it starts. They can play out the game. They can play badly on purpose. They can just play and then report their result. It's so hard to enforce this rule. It's just pressure on TOs and pressure on judges that they shouldn't have to deal with. even if you disagree with the idea of intentionally drawing, I think it has to be legal because it's almost patently absurd to try and enforce this rule. What if it's very advantageous for them to both win a game each, and that's what happens, and you think one of them was playing badly on purpose to help the other one out? How do you prove that?
Yeah, it removes this shadowy cloud from the situation that was supposed to be unspoken before. But
Yeah.
I think I'm on board with it being good too. At least it's an official ruling in the book now, and like you said, something that couldn't be controlled before and probably was taking place. Like if we all get in the car together and go to, and we're driving 3 or 4 hours, like some people are to a tournament, and you basically, I've seen it before where I've been matched up turn one with somebody that I drove 2 or 3 hours with, and if you get smashed by your teammate, your sparring partner, it can kill you the rest of the way. At least that all the conversations that happen on the way, like you said, like, hey, if we get matched up late round, this is, we're each going to intentionally throw one game. At least it's all out in the open now, and you don't have to be shady about it.
I agree. And the old rule that banned it, you could also argue gave an advantage to the people with the most friends, the most well-connected players, because they can agree with their 9 or 10 friends at their store. Okay, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And person who's come to their first Netrunner tournament from out of nowhere, don't know anyone, they couldn't offer that because they for all they know, their opponent's just going to judge, they're trying to collude, it's over for you. But well-connected guy can go, oh, well, I've got all these, like practically half the people who can get in the cup will happily intentionally draw with me. So it advantaged the well-connected players.
Yeah.
Sure.
Which makes a community harder to break into, and makes it cliquey. It turns it into a bit of a club, an exclusive club. So again, it de-emphasizes that point. I have one last thing to say about these rules changes, which I can wrap up with, unless anyone's got something else to say.
No, hit it.
Okay, the thing I want to say about tournament rules, and this applies more to tournament rules than anything else, is you should never shame people for, as long as they're following the rules, how or why they're doing it. So, say you get matched up against someone last round, and if you both intentionally draw, you both make the cut, and they go, nope, I want to play. Don't be the person that says, what are you doing? This is stupid. Don't be an asshole. Let's play. Let's just intentionally draw. It's smart. Don't go to your friends afterwards and go, this person's a huge idiot. They're not intentionally drawing with me. That's rubbish, because rules stop working if there's a social enforcement, a social thing against doing it. So sit down, go, do you want to intentionally draw? If they say, nope, I want to play, it's over. Just play. Stop, don't shame people into following or not following the rules in a certain way. Same if you don't like IDing. Don't go around being, oh, this ID rule's dumb. You're an asshole if you try and use it. If you have a problem with the rule, complain to the people that made it. Don't complain to the people for following it. Just don't, because it's awful, and the rules don't work if we are shaming each other for following them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes crystal clear sense.
That's something I feel quite strongly about.
I mean, I think that hit the nail right on the head. Don't be insulted if somebody sits across from you and asks you, do you want to draw? It's in the rules, and it's in their right to ask. They're not doing anything illegal.
No. So, yeah, if you disagree with the rule, and also for any TOs and judges, if you don't like the rule, don't try and stop people from using it. That's also awful. Just follow the rules as they are. If you want them changed, try and change them.
Anything else you guys want to touch on before we get into the stuff that happened this last week?
Don't think so.
No, they fixed the rule where you can play both sides twice or play one side twice in finals, so I'm glad they fixed that.
That's kind of interesting, actually. I don't want to go too deep on that, but this happened to me at a Store Champs a few weeks ago where I lost in the finals because I was, well, no, not because, I want to be clear, my opponent won fair and square, but I was forced to play Corp twice, which I felt was my weaker side. And on the one hand, that felt kind of rubbish, because I was like, this is odd that I have to play the same side in a finals. On the other hand, the reason for that was because I'd won 2 dice rolls to play runner in the run-up, and it would have been very strange if I'd got to play runner 4 times and Corp only once in a top 8 cut. So I'm very unsure about the rule, but fine, I get it. It makes the finals feel like a finals. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Netrunner and the play level that Fantasy Flight is seeing with this game, we have to expect the rules to be, be very dynamic and be able to be changed like this and tweaked. And as you know, even as this cycle flushes out, I expect Fantasy Flight to get tighter and better with their floor rules and with their tournament structures together. I mean, this isn't the first time we've seen tweaks to rules in tournament play.
I'm glad that they've shown that they're willing to tweak rules. Same with the Most Wanted list. It's good that they're willing to step in and change things. I think the you always play different sides in the finals thing is never a problem if runner and corp are very equally balanced, but if one is at a disproportionate power level, it can feel pretty bad if you're forced to play the same side twice. So I guess this change is good if the game is at an unbalanced point.
Yeah, and you know, like you said, I don't want my fate on the final table to be something that I lost to a dice roll and I picked the wrong choice at you know 16 rounds ago, right? So
Exactly.
you know, you should be confident with both your decks. You should be able to play them, and you know, so you at least one side is not favored over the other.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's look at business first. And so for those that might be jumping into this at for the first time, we're trying to tweak our reviews where we're not going to be talking about every card in the pack. We've done we've cut to a top 4. These are the 4 most interesting cards. These are our 4 picks for best card, and we've also kind of added in a worst card pick. Now that's, you know, just prefacing saying it's not worst card as in, you know, this card is going to be total crap forever. This is as of right now. Like, things could change next pack when something comes out. We could be saying, oh, this card is not really good. All of a sudden, a card is printed for support for it, and everyone swings to it, and then our chat's blowing up and say, those bad pub guys, they led me astray, right? And that also includes what is the best card right now is not going to be the best card maybe 2 packs from now, or you know, this is a moment in time when this pack is released and is the latest pack, and we're saying these are the top cards from this pack in the current meta that we're seeing.
Yeah, and maybe you want to take worst card as a challenge as well. That's another thing to say. Maybe you want to prove us all wrong.
Jinteki, and we'll have a good time.
Yeah. I actually quite like losing to cards that I declared to be terrible because it reminds me that I'm not right all the time.
I lost. Sorry, go on. Oh, I lost to All Code Gate Nisei Division the other day. That was a good time.
Oh, yeah. I didn't like High Stakes Job very much when I first saw it, and then after the 4th time that the runner gained a bunch of credits off it, I was like, okay, fine. It's wrong.
Some people have to learn the hard way, right? And some people, or, you know, trial and error, that you have to see it to believe it. Sometimes, and I think every player in this game has been wrong on thoughts on a card before. So, you know, sometimes other people will see something that some people don't. Yeah. And sometimes cards have to be tried. So make sure you're experimenting and playing with all these cards in this pack. These are just, like I said, some of the ones that stuck out to us. So, first up, we have NetChip. This is a 1 cost to install piece of hardware for Shaper. NetChip can host a program with memory cost less than or equal to the number of copies of NetChip installed. The memory cost of the hosted program does not count against your memory limit. I really like this in Shaper. This is consumer grade, so it's a 6 per deck limit. I think this card, especially with the resurgence of Haley that we're seeing, because it's so cheap, this is one of the first ones that I'm legitimately thinking you could play 6 per deck if you wanted to. I know there's not a card out there that is 6 memory yet, but it really opens up the ability for Shaper to run a little bit more big rig. Yeah. Get back to its home base. Miles, what do you think about NetChip?
I really like the design, number one. I think it's a really cool, like the exponential kind of growth. Yeah. I think that's really cool. I was thinking, my first thought for this was Haley as well. So you can just spew out a bunch of them. What do you reckon we host on them? Do we stick keyholes and hyperdrivers, cool stuff like that? Do we slot this into that DDoS false echo hyperdriver deck that's surprisingly good? Is that what you're thinking, or like just big money and breakers? I don't know.
Well, I think this is going to, obviously be for anything, 2 memory or higher. Hyperdrivers is the one that I'm seeing most commonly put onto NetShip. I don't know. I would love to see somebody bring back Morningstar and be able to, have room in their suite now. But I just think the possibilities are endless now for Shaper to open up the design space in deck builds. Whether that happens or not, remains to be seen. But I think that the design team have given us this tool that actually works as a consumer grade subtype.
Yeah. I have a couple of thoughts. One is that you also might want to look to CT when you're playing this, because she'll draw them more frequently. So
Sure.
the buff effect will be better. I think it might open up. I think you're right that it opens up kind of a big rig toolbox thing where MU is suddenly no issue. Traditionally, if you want to play a big rig / toolbox deck, most of your programs have to be 1 or maybe 2 MU, because otherwise you can't afford to go and get a sharpshooter, for example, when you've got like a Magnum Opus and some conventional breakers installed. The memory will run out. But if you have 5 or 6 of these in play, memory literally does not matter. The card doesn't have any text. It just says, just ignore the MU part of all the cards. Once you get up to 3, actually, you're at that point, right? You can have Hyperdrive, a Magnum Opus, whatever else. You could have 2 Hyperdrivers and a Magnum Opus and your base 4 MU. So once you have 2 or 3s in play, MU doesn't matter at all. So if that's what you're in the market for, this is the best card to do it with. Cyber Solutions, Memchip, and that kind of thing are probably too clunky. So, because even before you draw all of them and it goes crazy, you can just install 1 and put your 1 MU card on it. Like you made that's basically an Akamatsu Memchip with a little bit of a setup. So it's not, the floor on this card isn't too bad. So yeah, I wasn't sure about this, but hearing you guys talk about it has convinced me a little more.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great addition, because like it's basically let's just say you're buying MU at a credit a slot. I think this could bring back more Magnum Opus into Shaper decks at a time when I do think they might need it. We can talk about that later, but I think how people are testing the Palena foods, I'm seeing a lot of Psi stuff in there because they're not worried about draining their credit pools, and the runner might have to keep up with that economy a little more. So Magnum Opus slotted into a Shaper deck that's running a couple net chips might not be too bad. I mean, Magnum Opus, if you could always squeeze it in, most people do, but the problem has been having those empty memory slots, and
Yeah.
I haven't seen a valid way to buff memory before. I mean, like what they gave us Leprechaun and stuff, that Leprechaun could host a program that was
Yeah.
80 size and stuff, but nobody really played with Leprechaun or experimented with it. I think this is a better version of that. I mean, because essentially it is where it needs to be in hardware, and it is in faction of the big rig building.
Yeah, Leprechaun can be tutorful with SMC. That's the one thing it has going for it over this. But for the most part, this card's probably better. And Shaper is the one that can deal with hosting things on other things the most easily, because they have clone chips anyway. So you can let your whatever, if you've got the money, you can let your program get trashed just so you can bring it back and put it on your net chip. That's actually not too onerous. I like that this means we can run Hyperdriver and Magnum Opus side by side pretty easily. That's exciting, because those cards have synergy too. You can gain 1 billion credits.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
And generally, I think your point about Magnum Opus is probably a pretty good one, because Magnum Opus traditionally is best against corps that kind of like just go along at a flat pace and then have a big turn. Jinteki likes to do that because that's when Psy games are the best, because no matter how prepared you are, you've only got 2 or 3 chances to win a Psy game. So Magnum Opus means that when the corps kind of just going along as normal, you can have a bunch of credits that when they go for their big turn, you're equipped to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's like in the past, like you said, if I was going to run a big rig, I kind of lean towards Chaos Theory because of that ability of hers to start with that extra MU, so I can easily have a 2 memory program and then a bunch of 1s, and I can push my rig out that way. I think this will open a little bit more of a design space, maybe in Big Rig and other shaper brands. Before, people have thrown in shaper consoles just to get the value out of their memory slots. Like in the past, we've talked about Maya being one of the best consoles, not because of her ability, but because it's so cheap and the return on memory that you get for that. This card is perfect. I mean, and we have the pieces in faction to use it. You can, you can play Replicator and be able to bomb out all 6 of your net chips, no problem, if that's your take. I think Haley will be able to pump these out, no issues with her abilities. I'm just really excited. There's been a lot of programs out there that haven't made shaper cuts before, and because of MU restrictions, and I think this could open up some things we've never seen. What do you guys think about it out of faction? Is 2 influence too much to put out of faction? Is there another faction that really needs to build up? Could this be used in Anarch to maybe have more viruses in play?
I don't think we ever see this out of faction, no.
Nah, 2 influence a pop. Nah, not a chance. Anarch has
If you want
Grimoire.
to run all 6 of these, is it 16 influence? Is my math correct? No, it's 12.
So I think it might be 12, but yeah.
God damn it. Yeah, it's 12. Apex could run it, but Apex has no influence. But it's kind of cool that you can have an Endless Hunger and a bunch of other stuff, I guess.
I was going to mention that Endless Hunger is currently the biggest program that exists.
Yeah.
So someone's going to do this, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was, I've already seen some talks online about people using it with the hunger, and I think it could be a legitimate idea. I'd have to see it flush out a little more, but I think people are on the right track.
Hunger is... I think it might have its time if Faust gets hated on the most wanted list or something. Right now, if you want a piece of anti-gear check ice, you just play Faust. So if that changes, Endless Hunger might have a role to play. Let's not talk about Faust, but that's all I'm saying is Endless Hunger is going to suffer until Faust is a bit less prevalent.
So a couple years from now.
Yeah, let's not open that can of worms, please.
Do you guys want to say anything else about NetShip? I think it's just an interesting addition to Big Rig building, and I hope Shaper gets back to its roots with it.
I like how it changes the face of deck building in the game. Because this card to me kind of says if you want MU to not be an aspect of the game you have to worry about, you can put 6 of these in your deck. There's other issues to deal with, but you can basically ignore MU if you've got draw and these in your deck.
Right. And like I said, I don't think running 6 of them, this is one of the first ones I've seen that doesn't seem that bad. I mean, yeah. I've seen people run a bunch of cheap memory chips before, and they almost have 6. Like you might have a full play set of Dyson, and then some Akamatsu splashed in there, or you're relying on getting your console out combined with another cheap memory chip thing. This might allow you to run the console you want, not a console that just you're running because of the memory on it. And then, like I said, 6 could be a viable reason.
Yeah.
Or a viable play.
You can also play Page Piper and remove 5 cards from your deck with one click. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Cool. Sounds good to me.
Next up on the list was the Tech Trader. This card is obviously... so Tech Trader is a 1 install for Criminal, Resource, Connection. Whenever you use a trash ability, gain a credit. It is 1 influence, but I think we all know why this is in the game. This makes Geist... Miles, I assume he's going to climb up your power rankings pretty significantly because of this.
Yeah, Geist is really interesting right now, especially with Councilman and Polyop or Plop or whatever we're calling it coming out in the next pack. This card is actually insane when you get it running. You can finish runs with more money and cards than when you went into it, which is just bananas. You know when you pop your Cloud Breakers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you go in, you pop it, you get your 3 credits off this, draw a card, do it on the next dice, and you can just it's really interesting and enables a lot of things for Geist. I think his late game has become really good. I think really powerful.
I like that there are just solid econ cards with trash abilities on them that Geist wants, so you're not just using this with your Cloud Breakers. It gives you money when you pop a Street Peddler and when you pop a Fall Guy, and Geist wants to play those cards. Well, maybe not Fall Guy because of influence. No, maybe not Street Peddler because of influence, but
Yes.
Fall Guy is so good in Geist because you draw a card and get 2 and now 3 or more credits with Tech Trader. So
Oh yeah, if you 5 credits in a draw, that's just bananas. And another,
Yeah.
and a lot of builds using off-campus apartment as well now.
yeah,
So you're getting like 2 draws, 5 credits for 1 card. That's bananas.
I like that you don't have to wait till the mid to late game for Tech Trader to start paying you. That's
Yeah.
my take on the card.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, I think I've never seen a more direct support later after a release. Like I thought Geist was pretty much packaged, in a bow,
Yeah.
and they presented him last cycle, and they were said, this is how he runs. These are his support cards. Go have fun with him. Then next cycle, we see a card that, wow, if it had came out last cycle with him, I think it would have shifted the meta and the swing of people's perception on him instantly. He instantly moves up so many more notches on mine and makes him tryable now. He was always that card that the mechanic, like I know he can be a strong build, but his mechanic wasn't there for me in an exciting deck build and with a lot of moving pieces. To me, he had kind of one style of play before, and now this can open up a whole lot, because if you can get this early enough, you can cut certain economy pieces out of your deck that you had in before, or if you were splashing for some economy. This is a direct synergy to his ability that is just phenomenal. It's going to be so strong.
Yeah, this ticks one of my big boxes for econ as well, which is it gets you money while you're doing other things that you should be doing anyway.
Yeah.
So you're using, as you said, your straight peddlers and even just your icebreakers. Like, this makes you money for using icebreakers. That's awesome. It's like Desperado and security testing, and where you get money for running, which is something you should be doing anyway.
Yeah.
And the ASOP's cache, or the ASOP's engine in noise, rewards you for installing viruses and disrupting the corp, which is something you should be doing anyway. So this is worth looking at for that alone, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, click-intensive economy is always a bit of a tough one, and this is not click-intensive economy.
No, it is the opposite.
I think that's a cool point, Miles. Fitting into the criminal style, being able to build one aspect without taking away certain things from the other. Like you had the Desperado with John Masanori's security testing, where you're like gaining all these credits and cards, and that's just what criminal did. But they did it by just playing the game, by just making the runs and stuff, and you're gaining things in. This card is just going to let you play Geist's game, but get all the bonuses for it. It's like someone's just rewarding you and high-fiving you every time you take a turn. They're like, great job, Geist. Here's a credit. Great job. And
Yeah, it does feel super cool to finish runs with more money than you started with. That's so unusual to finish just a normal run with more money than you started out with.
It's great that this is working while you're running as Geist, because it means you can have more money for that ash trace when you get through to the end of the server. So the corp can't just res ice and be like, oh, well, this is going to tax you, so my ash is better. Suddenly they have to maybe think about not resing ice, because otherwise you're going to gain money, they're going to lose money, and that ash trace is looking more and more in your favor. And it's awful that Corp doesn't want to res ice. Like that's if they have the money to res it, they should be resing it. Criminal especially like the Corp doesn't want to res ice. So that's super, super nice for them too.
Yeah.
Do you guys see this anywhere else being used? I mean, I don't really.
No,
It's not at the moment. There's not enough trash ability stuff that you're putting somewhere else to take this out of faction and or out of even out of ID. To make it viable enough.
It is only one influence.
Sorry.
So
Go on, Alex.
Sorry, I'll be quick. It is only one influence, so maybe there's a shape or an anecdote that's trashing a bunch of stuff. But generally, those People aren't splashing for recon nearly as much as they used to. That's part of the issue with this card seeing play out of action. Sorry, Mars.
No, you're right. It's just I was going to say the use is reasonably marginal in all other decks, or any other deck. The interesting thing about Geist, I was thinking, is Geist has the most like explicit synergy of any ID in Netrunner, I would say. You know, like cards that's just like, this is going to be really good here and probably nowhere else.
Yeah.
I don't think anything else has that. Just an interesting thing.
Yeah, Noise's ability is kind of like that, but viruses are so good anyway that they see play that everyone anyway. So
yeah, that's true. That'd probably be the most direct comparison, like because every virus that released could potentially make Noise better.
Yeah. A final thought I have on this card quickly is that I think we're starting to see it's what am I trying to say? It's good foreshadowing for the criminal faction. I think if you look at this in CDI, right, the other card in the pack, they're maybe pushing a little bit criminals like slice of the pie in terms of what they can do, and that's probably what they need to be more powerful. Criminal, like the trash thing pre-Geist wasn't, you would probably maybe think that was more of an Anak or Shaper thing. So they're letting criminal do more stuff, which is a good sign if we want to see criminal be viable in tier 1 again. Because they don't take all these cool effects and put them into Anak, which seems to be what they were doing the last couple of cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, next up is one of the cards that I think was probably the most interesting. I think that this would be my pick for top card in the pack. This is Corporate Sales Team. This is 4 for 2 agenda. When you score Corporate Sales Team, place 10 credits on it. When each player's turn begins, take 1 credit from Corporate Sales Team. I'll let one of you guys start it off. Alex, I know this is one that you were excited to talk about as well.
This is the kind of card I get excited about. And it's not weird, it's just pure efficiency, and that's good to me. This is the game kind of leveling up. So this card, I mean, it's kind of obviously excellent. It looks excellent. You put 10 credits on it and you get them back on each player's turn. So my take on this card is basically, and this sounds like a lot of caveats, but it honestly isn't. If you're playing a 4-2 in your deck that you actually plan to score and you don't have weird synergy, this is almost certainly going to be the best one. Aside from some in-faction stuff. So Nisei Mark II is better than this in faction. And Oaktown Renovation is better than this in faction. But like your advanced concept hoppers, that card, it's a shame that card only just came out, because this card is almost certainly better than your advanced concept hoppers. It's just going to pay you out more quickly and more money. Concept hopper averages about 5-6 credits a game. This is more than that, and it's going to pay you off faster. Corporate War, that says 7 credits on it, whereas this card says 10 credits on it. So corporate, unless you really need the burst, this is probably almost certainly better than Corporate War. It also has no downside. And any odd stuff. There's a couple of other 4-2s in this pack that are not particularly exciting. This is better than those, even though those have associated factions with them. So yeah, this card is very, very good. Your Glacier style decks that usually need to play a couple of extra 2-pointers that aren't 3-2s, this is the one you want.
Miles, what do you got here? Are you on board the sales team?
Yeah, they sold me. You get 2 points, and then you get 2 credits a turn for a little while. There's what's not to like? You know, it's like Alex said, it's just a good card, just money.
It makes them hard for them to headlock you as well.
Yeah.
Like, even if they drain you to 0, you're going to have 1 credit at the start of your turn, and you've got an extra 1 to protect yourself from whatever econ now they're doing. This card is rough if the runner's trying to deny you money, because it's untouchable, other than Turntable, which should be mentioned, but Turntable's Turntable.
Yeah, I mean, in those people that are running that, I don't judge an agenda by its ability to be turntabled away.
Yeah.
But when I looked at this card, if you did almost like a slow curtain reveal from the top down, giving it a pull, you're like a 4-2 agenda. Okay, that's pretty standard right now. I don't really think, and Lucas has said before, they were really trying to move away from the 3-2s, which made sense because 3-2s, a good 3-2 is going to end up in NBN, and it's just going to get bombed out fast advance. So 4-2 seems to be the new standard in competitive agendas. Then I read the abilities here. So you score it, you put 10 credits on it. Then when each player's turn begins, I'm going to take 1 credit. Well, that's incredible drip economy. Take a credit on my turn, take a credit on your turn. depending on the deck, you might be able to recover from a siphon a little easier. If you're playing asset spam and you have one of these scored, maybe you can diversified portfolios. Maybe this helps you get to sweeps weeks a little better. It stops you from, if you've been account siphoned down to 0, it stops you from having to go credit, 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 or to, credit, credit, I can play a card. It just gets you rolling on over that hump a little easier, which is incredible because account siphon is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
The most important part of this ID or this agenda that I saw is at the very bottom, where I really expected from reading this from the top down to see this with influence on it.
Yeah.
I was really surprised the way that they are going with making these neutral agendas. I thought this was a pretty powerful neutral, and for them just to give it without any influence tax on it, I was pretty surprised.
It's good. I like it. It's a powerful agenda. That's the most powerful neutral agenda that doesn't have a point of influence on it, or is on the most wanted list.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
It's just a nice little thing. You get guaranteed 10 credits. It smooths out your tempo from scoring because you recover that money straight away. It's just like Alex said, if you don't have a better in-faction option, arguably Exploder is for NBN because you're never going to score it. So
that's why I added the caveat if you actually plan to score it, because obviously if you never score it, Exploder and NAPD are the best ones.
Yeah, exactly. But if you actually do want to score this at some point, it's sweet, and it's almost always going to pay out because 5 turns is not that long.
Yeah, that's the key part. So the other thing to mention is, God forbid you get 2 of these out. Bear in mind that's crazy. Once you get 2 of these out, your deck's paying for itself beyond any other econ. 2 credits a turn. So you may want to run multiples and once you score 1, the money might help you score the other. It's kind of like an Oaktown renovation in that sense. The other thing, I'm going back to the influence thing. I'm really glad that they're showing they're still willing to print powerful, not auto includes, powerful cards that don't require synergy as neutrals that have no influence cost. I feel like half the neutral cards we see nowadays have an influence cost. And printing an influenceless neutral card is just a way of powering up the game a little bit. And I think that's great.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I was so surprised. It makes me wonder when this card was given the finalized to printer. If they were like, okay, guys, print these cards. Okay, what do you think of this most wanted list idea? Or if it was like, if the most wanted list was out and they still had the ability to call the printer and say, hey, put an extra dot on this card. Because this is something I look at that I think maybe later on down the road, it could be most wanted listed with a piece of influence on it.
This thing?
I think it has potential, man. I really think it's a if you're running a 4-2, and like Alex said, if you're planning to score it, I think this is an incredible boost for the economy on the corp side.
Okay.
So it's important to bear in mind with the most wanted list that it's not just about being extremely good. There's also that aspect of it where it limits design space. So if this makes it onto the most wanted, the reason would be that they can't print many more 4-2s because we'll all just go, nope, corporate sales team.
Yeah.
So that might be the reason.
And I think, if you, like you said, if we can score multiple of these, then I think that. Like, can you think of the time if you even had 3 of these scored, trying to get over the hump on that? Or, you look at synergy that's in the game right now. This would trigger with Bifrost, right?
Yes, I think so. I think you would get to put 10 more credits on it with Bifrost. Yeah, it says when. Yeah, it does. Oh boy, I hadn't thought of that.
Right, and so like you were talking about, I was pretty gaga over Advanced Concept Hopper when it came out.
Yeah.
And that's the first time the runner initiates a run each turn.
Yeah.
Like, the runner doesn't have to do anything except say, okay, I'm going to start my turn. You know?
This is almost certainly better. I mean, Hopper does draw you the card, but for the most part, I was always getting credits off Hopper. And I was counting my Hopper credits because I wanted to test it, and it was averaging at about 5. Sometimes, more often than not, it wasn't giving me the big payout that I was expecting. This is 10 every time, so it's going to be rare for this to be worse than Hopper. And it pays out twice as fast as Hopper. Even if they're running every turn, you're still coming out ahead until they make their 11th run.
Yeah, I can concur that Alex. I was testing Advanced Concept Hopper, and I was using it as the credit gain pretty much 90% of the time.
90 is where I would put it too.
But obviously there were turns when I wasn't getting it because the runner had to do something else and they wouldn't run. It's not guaranteed that the runner is going to run every time, so you can't say Advanced Concept Hopper is going to guarantee you a credit each turn, or just on the runner's turn. With a corporate sales, you can. So I would replace probably my Advanced Concept Hoppers with corporate sales in HB.
Yep. Absolutely.
This is going to be, in engineering the future, this is going to give you the money like somebody just turned on the faucet. You might be able to now play something else, cutting a couple economy cards there. Obviously not the staple ones, but this could open a little bit of design space in there. And like I said, if somebody wants to play Bifrost Array with this card, you could just turn money on for the whole game.
Yeah.
Depending on when you can score it. Any other thoughts on corporate sales? Positive, negative? Is there a negative downside to this?
It's not an APD.
So it's got a very obvious comparison to Corporate War, because Corporate War is a 4-2 that pays out. Obviously, this gives you more money than Corporate War with no downside. It is worth pointing out that Corporate War gets around turntable in a way that this doesn't. So in this crazy world where you want a 4-2 that gives you money specifically, and literally everyone is playing turntable, it might be worse than Corporate War. I want to mention that just for the sake of, but that's not going to happen very often.
No, I never really liked the caveat of Corporate War. I had to have 7 already to score it.
Yeah, you could print Corporate War nowadays without the downside, and it would be a perfectly fine power level. Maybe when it was printed, they couldn't, but nowadays it could just say gain 7. And
yeah, because in that, realistically, obviously everyone knows that you have to have more than 7 to score Corporate War because it's a 4 for 2.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes the corporation doesn't run as money. The reason this is in your deck is to gain you money. So, to say I already have, if I'm already making boatloads of money, I'm going to score a Corporate War. The synergy wasn't there.
It's got synergy with Blue Sun, bear in mind. If you're playing a fast Blue Sun deck, that might be the other time that you give Corporate War the nod over this.
Right. Just to, when you're bouncing stuff back to your hand, you've got that quick economy boost, and then you're going to be able to Corporate War in.
You might want to score war and immediately score another war, or score an Oaktown or something. And if you're doing that, sales teams' payout might be too slow for you, I guess.
But I think if there was ever a time when you were looking, if you're looking at your deck and you're playing 4-2s, you could legitimately look to corporate sales team and slot it in right away.
Yeah.
Miles, are you good? Anything else there?
Nope. I think it's great. I think it's been covered. I like it.
All right, let's talk about the Grand Banana. Polena Foods, man.
Oh, we know how to say this now. It's a good day.
I'll still butcher it all the time.
It's Palina.
Palina. I read the thing and listened to the thing on Fetal AI, and I'm still not confident.
I call it Paella. That's not for a good reason.
Everyone, PSA, you can correct me at a tournament when I say it wrong. I will not be offended. I would like to say this card correctly, so if you run into me and I say it wrong, do correct me.
You almost wish that Global Food Initiative was just something different, so you could just call this food. Yeah. Right? They've already took our short form away from us. But this is the new Jinteki, 45-15, pretty running standard there. The first time each turn the runner draws a card, gain a credit. This is people going pretty bonkers in some chats. People calling it the new engineering the future for Jinteki, calling it the money printing machine. Miles, you got a take on this, or do you want to let Alex start it off?
I'll jump on, but just before we get started, do we want to discuss Agroplex at the same time? Because I feel like
sure. I mean, we can talk about the cards that combo with this ID.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so first of all, yeah, I mean, this is good. You are almost certainly going to get, just at face value, one credit to turn, which is HB money, and we know that HB is ETF money, and we know that ETF is really good. Apparently, there are other kinds of HB. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's one credit a turn. We like this, right? What's not to like about this?
It's Jinteki's good stuff efficiency ID, which arguably they didn't really have before. It's the NEH and the ETF. It
Yeah.
just no synergy required, just good.
Yeah,
And
it's just if
often
you want to.
offered better than other options. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, no, you're right. It's just like if you have a deck that doesn't have like a kill plan or a weird plan, quote unquote, if you just have a normal scoring agendas plan, this is a really good way to do it.
Yeah, and like ETF and NEH, this ability is good enough that even if you have synergy with another ID, this might just be better. You know, it's the stronger together problem. Maybe in this case, the RP thing. Like maybe even if you've got some RP synergies, you just don't worry about those and you play this instead because the idea is so good.
Yeah, and that's the kind of the space that I'm seeing it in. I'm seeing you could take most any Jinteki build and kind of slot this in, and it's going to do work for you. If you're running a PE build where you're doing little cuts, well, obviously the runner has to draw up because they're taking net damage, and you're getting a boost. The most popular one is I'm seeing is people are transitioning from RP. Standard, you can almost take a standard RP build with a couple tweaks here and
Cut the sun use for the whatever the card is in this pack that has synergy.
Yeah,
and you a good deck out the box.
Yeah, you basically just change your asset economy to operation economy and add the agriplex, and it's RP, but it's better against wizard basically.
Yeah, and faster decks in general, and more inevitable runner decks in general. It's better against noise too.
And when this card was first spoiled, I can say that I wasn't really on board with it. I'm still not feeling it because of that aspect. I mean, I'm someone who likes to build decks, and I look at that as half the game. It's almost like I can play Netrunner solo at home. I just build deck ideas and things like that. Something like this doesn't really seem challenging enough if you can just do an ID swap on another deck and it all of a sudden makes that deck better. From a thematic point of view, I think I've said before, I don't know if this ability, if I like it sitting in Jinteki. To me, I would have thought if this was just a colorless card and they were asking me where to put it, I think I would have put it in Wayland. Money making seems like their thing, especially off, off of a weird, funky thing like this. I'm just really surprised this ability is in Jinteki.
Well, Jinteki always they do have the connotation of making the runner draw cards with the pingy net damage thing, which may have been what they were envisioning originally. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because Jinteki does have two other really strong weird IDs like PE. I don't think you'd put a PE deck in this. I don't think that's a great idea because you'll get a little bit of money, but you don't have anywhere near the same kill threat ability. Yeah, you don't need money. And NRP is a really weird ID and was really crap for a long time, and then it became incredible. But I think it just depends on what you value more. Do you value the runner spending an extra click, or do you value, piles of cash?
Yeah,
I mean, that's a real question.
Like RP's ability is not great in the early game, and becomes very powerful in the mid to late game. This is going to help you out right from the start. So I like that it's giving you the boost early instead of waiting till things are supposed to be good for you mid to late, because then a runner that builds for the mid to late game is going to give you a real problem. So this helps you to rush things out, which I think is great. And I like when fast rushy decks are in the meta, because I think it pushes the meta in an interesting direction. So I like what this is. The Palana decks that are having some... They've won some US store champs already, right?
We could just say J Foods.
J Foods.
They're moving quickly, and I like that. It's a good home for for operation econ too. It makes your wizards and your imps less ubiquitous. I like that Restructure is a great card again. So I like where this is taking the meta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Also some
definitely
hits.
I like the
Yeah,
design space that they've put in. I think it's I think it's a very interesting ability to build around. Um, like we're seeing the support cards come in for it. Cards like like you said, the Agroplex, and now even Harvester, right? Although it's weird because I've seen Palena Foods not running the Harvesters, but
Harvester is very bad. That's the issue.
Yes.
It's just horrendous, and it's very easy to miss how bad Harvester really is. I don't want to go on a huge rant,
no,
but
by all means, to
it's
take it away.
Sure.
I mean, I think
the
it,
number
it
of
goes
ways this
hand in
card is
hand.
bad is mind-boggling. It is
Yes.
it is crazy. Like usually when you see a card, you're like, oh, I'm going to imagine the crazy scenarios where it's good, and then that's what makes me want to play it. It is way easier to imagine the scenarios in which it is actively hurting you than the ones in which it is helping you. So for example, let's not get too far. Let's not go down the Faust train because Faust is. But against Faust, this is awful because they can go, okay, Harvester. I'm going to pump with a card. I'm going to break with a card. I'm going to let the other subroutine fire.
Yeah.
So you're not milling me. I'm just going to draw one more card than I had already. So you can run into this and refuel your hand. Like you can't have this in the outside of a server because they'll face check it and jack out, and you've just refueled their hand. Haley, for example, loves this because she just digs through. It helps them to dig for their answers. If they've got a vamp that's going to beat your Caprice, your Harvester is going to help them find it. You put this card in your deck, and you paid credits for it, and it's helping them to beat you. There was a discussion in StimHack Slack about this card. Like, okay, it's obviously bad when it's on the very outside because it helps them to draw. Well, what if it's on the very inside? Well, no, that's bad as well because they inside job past your good ice. You need hard end the run at the base of a server, right? That's the whole point. Okay, well, this is good in the middle. Well, great. So you've got to install a piece of ice, put this in front of it, put something else in front of it, and res it all, and that's when the card is probably okay.
Maybe.
Like Jesus Christ. It's a 3-strength code gate, for God's sake. So Yogg exists. This card baffles me. I know that there's synergy. Don't run it. It's so bad.
It gains you a credit on the runner's turn. Yeah, I
That
agree.
is true. Yep, you made that window. Well done. Oh, God.
Yeah,
this is one of the worst cards for a long
I'm really surprised that they didn't adjust the strength on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because, like you said, like I mean, I feel like this card was printed though as support for foods.
Yeah.
But basically, like how many times has somebody popped the Jackson just to fix your hand, like on the corp side, right? Like, oh, I gotta adjust. I don't need these cards. Overdraw, move them over.
Yeah.
That's basically what you're letting the runner do twice,
Yeah.
right? Like, there's cards in your deck that at certain times of the game you no longer need. So
Yeah.
all I'm doing is drawing 3 cards, fixing my hand up, discarding the ones I don't. I'm going to draw 3 more and discard the ones I don't need at the time. In the age when most of the top decks are running a levy to get
Yeah, exactly.
back and reset everything anyway, I mean, I don't understand. Like, unless
That is the nail in the coffin of this card.
yeah, unless you're really thinking down the road that runner mill is going to be, a thing where if I can get the runner to mill all the way down and then I'm going to have like my blacklists out and locked
Yeah.
out, maybe this card will come back around. I mean, we have a while before it will ever be cycled out. So they have time to explore
Maybe.
a design space with it,
Maybe.
but I mean,
They've got a hill to climb if they want us to play this card. For sure.
and that's basically the conclusion of my statement, is that I don't see a reason to be putting this into a deck.
The other problem this has quickly is that runner decks tend to just run a lot of redundancy because some cards in their deck are clearly better than others. That Wildside and Aesop's are unique, but you still run 3 of them because they're so good. So it's very common. This is part of the reason Faust is good. It's very common to have dead cards anyway. So the fact that you're supposed to discard down is fine. You'll discard stuff you don't need. You always have stuff you don't need.
Yeah, I mean, the only way off the top of my head that I can see them making this, or I could see a way to make this card better, is if the wording was the corp discards those cards at random for them. So it was almost like draw up, you're taking a bit of net damage. So it's like the runner is not deciding. Like, how many times have you played a Jinteki deck, held your cards out to receive like 1 net damage, and you're just like, please do not pick 2 of these 5 cards, right?
Yeah.
So, but now you're giving the runner the choice to discard down. So I mean, I'm like, oh, I'll gladly lose this one. I mean, the runner's making this decision anyway when they're running Faust. They're already deciding what cards they don't need at the certain time of the game. So you're not forcing them to make a tough decision to discard down. And like you said, like if the runner is not at max hand size, this card is not doing anything for them. You've just basically given them, hey, Shaper, don't play your diesels anymore because I'm going to give you 3 card draws for nothing, right? Like,
And it's bad against clone chip too. They could discard down some programs in the middle of a run to clone chip them out to break the ice you have behind this.
Mm-hmm.
So they run without a barrier breaker. You've got a Hamitsu backer behind this. You're feeling good, but they've got a clone chip in play, and suddenly they discard a lady. It can help in that sense too.
Yeah, this is the same. It's the same
It's the
thing that I
Laramie
was.
Fist problem. This card's just the
Yeah,
Laramie Fist.
that's exactly what I was going to say. It's like there are literally. It's exactly the same as Laramie Fisk, where there are cards on the opposite side that like have the same effect.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, why are you doing this for them? Like, there's literally a runner card that's draw 3 cards, and it's in a lot of decks.
yeah. So thumbs up on Polena, I would say, yeah.
Yeah. Well, quickly, can we talk about Agroplex quickly? Because it's funny that we've gone on a huge rant about how bad it is to make the runner draw cards, but Agroplex is actually a good card, and I think we're supposed to be running it.
Well, okay, is it though? Because, so I thought Agroplex was really good at first because you get to make 2 credits a turn in Palina. But then I don't know, man, like feeding the runner that many cards feels painful to me.
Yeah, so I was the same, but Josh01, Netrunner, internet personality, talked to me about this because he won a store champ with Polena, and I was like, is Agroplex actually good? I don't want to give the runner cards. And he's like, okay, think of it like this. You're running like 9 burst econ cards in your Polena deck, right? You're running Celebrity Gift, you're running Hedge Fund, you're running Restructure. Both players, so for that reason, you could claim, and I think he's probably right, a card for each side is basically a wash. It's good for them, but it's good for you, right? If your deck is built well and things aren't going terribly, a card for them should be about the same value as a card for you. Do you think that's fair to say? Mm-hmm. At that point, this is a pad campaign that costs less and costs more to trash.
I love the trash.
That's his take on it that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah, I mean, it felt good. It just felt weird while I was playing it. I liked the money, but I also just felt strange about the whole thing. Like, my opponent wasn't even installing Wildside because he was like, I don't feel like I need to install Wildside. But I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's awkward that runner card draw is at an all-time high and everyone's doing it loads now because it's really hit its stride. But I still think this card is a card you should be playing in Polena at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely.
Cool. So definitely, if you if you want a new way to play, this is going to open up for you. Polena Foods, BP endorsed.
Agroplex also maybe pushes you a little bit towards trying asset spam Polena, which might be okay. I know some people have had some success with a asset spam fast advancey Jinteki build. I'm not crazy about the idea, but maybe it's good. You can use your temple to res it, and you've got turtlebacks in faction.
All right, let's let's quickly hit on the worst card in this pack. Weirdly enough, this is a remote data farm. I say weirdly enough because it's made the cover of the Business First pack.
The art is beautiful. The art is beautiful on this.
This almost rivals Burkbugs when Burkbugs was on the cover of that pack that it was released in. Remote data farm is a 4/2 agenda. Your maximum hand size is increased by 2. I don't know why this is in NBN. NBN had if you're worried about hand sizes, NBN, you can play. The world is yours. Putting an ability like this on an agenda, I don't feel it's good right now because you have to score it for it to take effect. Right, so.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
if you're
the same pack as a better neutral card.
And that's exactly right. And then bottom line is, why are you playing 4/2s in NBN right now anyway, right?
Yeah.
I mean, until they come out with a better card, it's going to be Beals, and we've proved that Most Wanted list has not done anything to stop Astro. So
No, I think because Exploder is the obvious go-to 4-2 in NBN that's more fast advancing and doesn't want to score it, and even then, a lot of the Fastro NBN decks we're seeing just play global food to make their agenda less dense. That's what I did with the Temple deck I was playing. I never scored the global food, but I was never scoring Exploder either. So I'll happily play a few extra influence to make my deck less dense. So even if you're running an NBN 4-2, like, you don't want it to be this one. It's got so many caveats on it. And yeah, corporate sales team is better.
we had some people in the chat already say, no, it combos with, The World Is Yours and IQ and Ashiguru.
It's cute with Ashiguru.
Yeah, I think those combos are there, but like I said, you're still going to have to score this remote and then fill your hand up after. So, I mean, like you said there, it is perfectly janky, but I mean, look at everything else in this pack, and this is a card that I don't see being utilized anytime soon.
I think this card would probably be okay if it said you have no maximum hand size. It just gave you CI's ability. Because it would be, because it'd be sweet, and it would be a bit stupid. So maybe that's why they didn't. But obviously, it's a powerful ability to have no maximum hand size. But it's really awkward to build your deck around an ability that's only good when you score a 4-2. So that would probably be okay. Other than that, you can play this game with cards like this, right? Where you're like, what number is too big of a number? Like, obviously, +2 hand size is too small. It's not good enough. If it was +4, would that be okay? +6? Like, +8? What does the number have to be? It's certainly more than 2. It might be like double.
I think it needed to be more than 2, since you, like I said, with an agenda in faction that already gives you +1 hand size. Now you're forcing me to score an agenda before I can get one more than what I could start with if I wanted to play a hand size game.
Yeah.
I don't know. Strange, and I don't have anything else to say about it other than when I looked into the list, I was like, this is probably a card in this pack that, if I was ranking it, would be at the bottom.
It might be better than Harvester. I don't know.
It's not actively bad like Harvester.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
like Harvester is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to discard cards, so maybe it's actively bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you were talking about the full hand size thing, and I was like, wow, you can't discard with Jackson anymore if you had unlimited hand size. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
Double hand size would be cool.
Yeah, it works with Media Blitz. Thanks, Jen. Sure does.
Correct statement.
Yeah, that is a true statement. I don't know. It's like, I will point out that hand size manipulation is an NBN thing, though.
Yeah.
It isn't. We have established this. It's hand size on both sides of the table, so it does make sense thematically. But like, this agenda is basically static. You know, I didn't even remember it existed until you were like, "Yeah, we need to talk about this guy for the podcast," because it's like, it's just pointless. Like, it
might be okay in draft. It might be worth trying out in a cube or two, because in an environment like draft where there's not Jacksons everywhere, the ability is a bit better. So if you like the art so much or whatever that you want to play this, maybe put it in a cube and try it out. That might be the reason that this card is not a huge waste of cardboard.
Well, I don't want to speak for the design space and things like that, but if we're printing cards for the sake of draft,
No, I know. I'm not saying this is okay. I'm just saying. Don't set fire to it. Maybe put it in a cube.
I have a question, actually. At what point would you play this card like, if it was growing your hand size? Like, at what point would you actually play it? Like,
I
5?
still don't know. I don't know if you would if it was infinite, honestly, because what are you doing with the extra hand size? Like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
You get IQ and Ashigaru, fine. You have to splash those for a start. Like, maybe you're playing some weird combo deck, but how do you build your deck around first having to score a 4-2? That's such an odd, risky way to play the game.
Yeah.
Like, half my cards will be good when I score this 4-2. Are you going to fast track for it?
You can't build your deck around a good ability on a 4-2, I don't think. Not yet. So that's why, even if this card gave infinite hand size, or you choose your hand size every turn, in the best case scenario where you might want to discard sometimes, you literally choose your hand size at the end of every turn, it would still probably not be okay because...
And then on the flip side, worst case scenario, you're like, I've got this awesome combo deck that revolves around me scoring remote data farm. All right, let's go. I'm done my turn. First turn of the runner. Oh, you Maker's Eyed and scored all 3 of these? Oh, you stole them? Well, my deck, I'm going to use the new concede rule and give you 2 points.
That's what efficiency committee is like in CI, but at least CI scores its 4-2 the turn it goes off, so it doesn't matter. You have to score this in advance in a deck that's not... I don't get it. Yeah. If you built a good enough remote to score this 4-2, why do you have a combo? Why not score the rest of your agendas in that remote that you built?
And there you have it. Sign seal delivered off that. Guys, thanks very much. Those were our breakdowns of the most interesting cards that we feel in Business First. Thanks a bunch for everybody who tuned in on a Sunday. Do you have any other closing thoughts here?
What's the other NBA card? Is it Disposable HQ? I think that card's a bit overrated. I don't want to debate it, but I think that card's a tad overrated.
Oh, and the world is yours.
But yeah, this pack is a solid pack. It's got fun cards in it. It's got good cards in it. I haven't read the flavor insert yet, but I'm sure it's pretty good.
It's about business.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. I like business.
Business
Cool.
Is it about business being first?
Yeah. Well, weirdly. No, I don't have it yet. I'm in Australia, man. We won't get it until like November.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, thanks a bunch for everything. Appreciate everyone that could tune in and hang out with us.
Yeah, cheers for hanging out, guys.
Take care.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Bye.